Well, we are here at the Age of Society, and currently we are joined by the director of the movie, Buried Seas. Currently, we are with us with Andrei Severny. Andrei, thank you so much for being with us on ITV Gold.
Thank you so much for having me.
Andrei, what a beautiful subject for your documentary. You know, as I said, a homegrown story of someone who truly inspired to be something, and he worked his entire life for that. So, my first question to you would be, why consider Vikas Khanna as the subject of your documentary, going to India, exploring a culture that you may or may not be familiar with. What sort of inspired you to, take on the subject?
Well, I met Vikas a few years ago, and his story was really inspiring because he went from being born with disability, being bullied in school,
right.
Going through all sorts of obstacles to where he is right now. And to me, that was very inspirational, and I wanted to create something that would inspire especially younger generation and people
right.
who just want to pursue their dream, and they're a little bit stuck in everyday life and what they're doing every day, and they think that this is the only way.
Right.
He's somebody that is reinventing himself every day. While we were editing this film, he managed to do his own film.
Yeah.
He shot a full feature-length narrative film that is now showing in festivals. So
right.
it's pretty impressive how he's able to transform himself.
Mm-hmm. What do you think are some of his greatest qualities? The qualities that you truly wanted to showcase in the documentaries. When you found out, what it was and how you wanted your narrative to show, what were those key aspects?
First of all, it's very hard work. It's perseverance. He doesn't give up, and we show it in the story multiple times. There are so many obstacles on his way through his life journey,
right.
and he keeps going, and he keeps going in a way that he reinvents himself to become better and better and better. So these obstacles are actually a fuel to that fire.
Right.
So that's very interesting, and he also has a very good intuition of where he would like to go, and he follows it. He follows his gut feeling. He doesn't follow much of what other people are telling him what to do, and he's just a man who has some personal instinct that he's pursuing.
Right, and he's very driven. When you look at his life and you talk about the drive that he has had and all that he's experienced, when you were discussing or when you were creating the documentary, when we watched the documentary, how have you sort of divided aspects of his life, and were there certain aspects that you sort of wanted to focus on more, perhaps when he moved to the US, because he moved during, he saw 9/11, he saw a lot of America change, as he speaks about it, and he refers to himself as Indian American. Did that sort of take precedence over perhaps his earlier journey? Because there, as you said, there's so much.
Well, the film structure is probably 50% India, 50% New York.
Okay.
And it's a very nice contrast. It's a very nice midpoint where he just decides to start over again. Both Indian chapters and New York chapters are full of really interesting things, and full of insight, and
right.
full of his wisdom that he has. And that's one of the things that really attracted me to start this documentary, is all the things that he's just saying
right.
every day, and these are the principles that guide him every day, and I think these are really worth sharing.
Andrei, what do you hope that the audience takes out of this film? When you talk about Vikas's life or his drive or all the work that he's doing, what do you think a normal viewer, or perhaps the South Asians here that are living here, should take out of it?
I think the film is actually absolutely universal. I understand that it's going to have certain attraction in India just right. because it was amazing. Even going on a trip with him to film. We saw everybody that wanted to take selfies with him, and it was quite incredible. But the film actually is quite universal, and I think it would resonate with anybody in the world because it's all about pursuing your dream and sticking to it. And that's the main point that we want to make, is that if you have passion for something, no matter what is going on in your life, find the way to pursue it. There's going to be obstacles, there's going to be all sorts of things happening in your life, but find the way to get there.
For our lovers of cinema, I have to ask you, you are the director of this movie, and you have obviously directed the movie in a very universal format so that more viewers can watch it. Is there a particular target for, having a lot more appearance or more presence in the US perhaps? Do you think this market here is going to be very helpful for the movie?
And, again, I was indeed trying to make it universal,
right.
And I inserted certain points where I was trying to actually educate people about certain aspects of Indian culture. So we are doing some definitions of seva, for example, or certain aspects of food,
right.
Things that are obvious and known in India, but they're not known around the world, but
right.
It's really good to know and to understand the context.
Exactly. And just talking more about the movie while we are coming up to a little wrap of the interview, when a lot of there are a lot of talented directors here, there are a lot of upcoming filmmakers here that want to sort of target more serious material, perhaps the material such as yours that inspires them. What are some of the tips and guidelines you can have for those, filmmakers? I think it would be really great for them to learn something from you.
Well, again, just follow your gut feeling and let that inner urge that you have out as much as possible. And then, of course, you have to spend quite a bit of time in
right.
the editing. You have to lay it in the right structure. You have to see what really works, what really doesn't. But it's very important not to lose that spark, because a lot of filmmakers in the process, with a lot of technical things or a lot of other things,
right.
they lose that initial spark. So that's, I think, is the most important.
How do you stay authentic to your art?
It's, I think because I'm working mainly in the independent world,
right.
and I'm not doing a lot of the paid projects, and certainly not this one. So it's very important for me to preserve integrity and to preserve my
right.
vision.
Right.
Even Vikas had his own idea of what this film may be, but he was actually very gentle and very respectful of my vision. So he let me do it the way that I saw it work properly and more to make it more powerful.
And just in terms of the movie, while we are coming to a close, the movie currently has featured in a film festival. It has, garnered a lot of attention, but currently most of the world hasn't seen it. Any insights into perhaps when the viewers in India, the viewers over here, could perhaps catch a glimpse of the movie?
It's going to be this year, but I can tell you exactly why, because again, the inner workings of the platforms and how
right.
it's going to be seen is pretty tricky and not always as straightforward as we want it to be. So we'd love to release it as soon as possible and to release it to the widest audience, because I think it would have a very wide appeal.
Beautiful. And what are some of your personal projects that we could look forward to this year?
I'm assigned probably in summer. We are shooting another interactive documentary
wow.
In Tunisia. So we're doing the second part of the project that's called Inside Risk, and it's an interactive documentary that I'm co-directing with Edouard Guettaz. And it's a project where we try different things with actually human interaction. So part of the project is being moderated with people.
Wow.
So you have a film part, but you also have a lot that's going on in the audience.
Wow, so a lot more narratives, a lot more documentaries.
Definitely.
Well, we wish you the very best of luck for ITV Gold family. Any last minute messages out to all our audiences?
Just keep going, no matter what.
All right, well, be sure to catch Bari Seeds when it comes out and releases here in North America.
I always consider women in my family extremely courageous, very brave, and always standing for the children, empowering them. Mother is the greatest part of life on earth. Sometimes when she felt I was weak enough, she would always say that you were never born to walk, you were always born to fly. Poverty teaches you much more than degrees or any school education. The fruit which suffers the most eventually becomes the sweetest. Only then the story is going to become big, when it's your story, your words. I felt that all my treasures were in the kitchen. Simple rituals of cooking, just a ceremony of those flavors. I found every vegetable so sensuous. I thought it has such a beautiful form of creation, its own distinct character. Just the puffing of the bread, I felt it was such a great form of art in cooking. My true being was in those majestic kitchens. It was like poetry flowing, and you don't need language. Art is art. Michelangelo could tell us a bigger story of human body and beauty without us speaking Italian. So was the music, and so was the food. The sun doesn't only rise on the back of your house and sets in front of your house. There is a bigger story of the world. I didn't know much about America. I come to New York barehanded, nothing. I didn't have any work permits. I was just working in this small place, but the chef did not like me. One day takes a cleaver, the big one, and bang! He almost chopped off my fingers. I've heard that a million times, I'm nobody and I will never be anybody. I said, I will be somebody one day. So you've got to create yourself every day to exist, to be remembered. This is your benchmark. You've got to beat this one day.